Hard hits for several playoff contenders, heartbreak for Carson Hocevar, and Denny Hamlin delivers in the Irish Hills. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. What a race at Michigan International Speedway today. Who doesn't love a good old-fashioned fuel mileage finish from time to time? I've got serious FOMO. Looked like an awesome afternoon at Michigan. We have so much to cover on the show today. RFK Racing made a huge statement. Carson Hocevar continues to bring the heat, and a big, brutal hit for Alex Bowman physically and in the points, unfortunately. But before we get to all of that and much more, I promise you, let's begin with the race winner. Denny Hamlin delivers, gets his third win of the season. That's now Bell, Larson, and Hamlin with 3 wins apiece. Hamlin making his 701st start. The savvy veteran that he is ran William Byron out of gas with a lap and a half to go, set the pace, saved enough fuel to stay ahead of Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson. Really impressive performance from Denny today. He also earned the second most stage points in this race. Gets Toyota their second straight Michigan Heritage Trophy. Before Reddick and Hamlin won the last 2 years, Ford had won 9 straight races at Michigan, so now Toyota trying to build their own little mini win streak. This is Joe Gibbs Racing's first Michigan win since Mad Kenseth in 2015. Y'all know I had to mention that stat. Big day for Denny Hamlin. I don't think Denny Hamlin gets enough respect for how well he's able to block out the noise. And I know historically in his career, he's admitted he's let the pressure get to him in big moments. Remember, I think it was 2010. I think he talks about that championship race at Homestead. I think he approached that race differently, and who's to say if that really bit them, but obviously they didn't win the championship that year. So yeah, I'm not saying Hamlin has always handled the pressure best, but I feel like lately, nobody in the NASCAR Cup Series has as many distractions pulling at them off track as Denny Hamlin. He runs a Cup Series organization now that expanded to 3 full-time teams this year. This week, they suffered a pretty major legal loss. A huge wrinkle to the ongoing antitrust suit against NASCAR threatens their charters for the rest of this season. Denny Hamlin has that going on. His fiance is expecting their first son any day now. I think she's now a few days overdue. So pressure's on. For the second week in a row, Hamlin had a relief driver on standby if needed. He finished third at Nashville under all that pressure. First today at Michigan. Denny Hamlin does deserve a lot of credit. He plays the heel. He leans into the banter with the crowd, but overall, he does a really good job behind the wheel of blocking out those outside noises. When the visor comes down, the window net goes up, he is locked in, fully focused, and he is still one of the best drivers in NASCAR today, even though he is the oldest full-time Cup Series driver in the field. Congratulations to Denny Hamlin again. Now that's Larson, Bell, Hamlin, 3 wins apiece. Larson has still finished well the past couple weeks, but they seem to be a bit off their game. Christopher Bell, kind of inconsistent. He got those 3 wins in a row at the very start of the year. Denny Hamlin fought through some mechanical issues at Kansas and Texas that took them out of races, but they bring the top 5 speed every single week. That is consistent. And I know he only has the 1 win, Daytona, at the start of the year, but I feel like William Byron and Ryan Blaney, who just got his first win last week at Nashville, I feel like that group of 5, Bell, Byron, Blaney, Larson, and Denny Hamlin, I feel like that group of 5 overall has separated themselves at this point in the season. I feel pretty confident week to week that those 5 are going to show up at the vast majority of racetracks. There's a new guy, though, who's not consistent, but often weaves himself into that top 5 discussion week after week after week. I'm talking about Michigan native Carson Hocevar. He has been a huge part of the narrative the past few weeks. The sophomore driver was side by side for the lead in the Coca-Cola 600 when the engine let go. Then he finished second at Nashville, but not before tangling with veteran Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Today, in his home state of Michigan, Carson Hocevar once again ran top 5, earned the 4th most stage points, was leading this race with 12 laps to go, 18 laps to go, 18 laps to go, and the left rear tire goes flat. Sends Hocevar down pit road. He finishes 29th, one lap down. This is becoming a trend. Carson Hocevar had a flat tire at the very end of the Kansas race a few weeks ago, cost him a top 10 there. We know that Spire Motorsports, as much as they've improved over the past couple of seasons, they still aren't as fast as Hendrick, Gibbs, or Penske usually. So how do they compete with Hendrick, Gibbs, and Penske? Carson Hocevar is a real fast driver. That's part of it, but they also push the limits with air pressures, with adjustments, you name it. We saw flat tires bite several drivers in practice yesterday, just pushing the air pressures. And then tonight, I noticed clouds came over the track in the second half. Conditions changed, and pretty quickly, 2 or 3 runs in a row, we had Todd Gilliland blow a tire, Carson Hocevar blow a tire, and I believe Austin Cindric had a flat tire as well. So this isn't just a Hocevar thing, but it still stings to have another issue cost Hocevar potentially a good finish. Now, it is worth noting Carson Hocevar was 4 laps short on gas, so he wasn't winning this race without a caution anyways, and obviously we know a caution never came out, so it's hard to say the tire ruined a good day. What really ruined Hocevar's day, it sounds like, was the final pit stop sequence where, and I was listening to the radio, it sounded like maybe Hocevar didn't wait quite long enough in the box to get that car fully filled with fuel. I think if he waits an extra second, maybe they get that car full, but then he comes off pit road probably 8th instead of 2nd. That track position is everything. So I don't know who's really at fault. Was it the crew? Was it the fuel man? Was it Hocevar gunning it just a tad too early? I'm not 100% sure, but that's ultimately where this race was, I guess, lost for Carson Hocevar. He was 4 laps short, while guys like Byron, Larson were only 2 laps short. In that final run, you're not saving 4 laps of gas at high-speed Michigan, not if you want to keep the lead, at least, and that seemed to be Hocevar's strategy, was hold the lead, hope for a caution. Unfortunately, Hocevar nearly was the caution when the tire blew, but that's the other thing. Hocevar wasn't even going 100%, and his left rear tire went flat, so whatever adjustment they made to that car was not the right one, clearly. Either way, Carson Hocevar once again was a factor here today. He's not part of that Fast Five, Larson, Blaney, Hamlin, everyone I just talked about. He's not part of that group, but week after week, somehow he seems to work his way into that group, at least for a run here or there. And again, considering that is a Spire Motorsports car, not a Hendrick, Penske, or Gibbs car. I know they have an affiliation with Hendrick. That's not a Hendrick car. Considering that's a Spire Motorsports Chevrolet, what Carson Hocevar is doing every single week continues to impress the heck out of me. I know we said this about Kyle Larson years ago, and it took a long time. I know we said it about Chase Elliott, and it took him a while. I know we've said it about Ty Gibbs, and we're still waiting, but I feel like that first win for Carson Hocevar is coming sooner rather than later. It would have been awesome to see it happen today in his home state, but alas, wasn't meant to be. Wasn't meant to be for William Byron either. I mentioned him as one of those Fast Five. He was in the picture yet again today. William Byron won a stage, earned the most stage points, was in the picture late, but ran out of gas coming to the white. Finishes this race, I think, 28th? 28th, yes, and his points lead didn't take a huge hit because he was successful in the stages. It's crazy to me, though, that William Byron still only has 1 win this season, and it was the Daytona 500 at the start of the year, a race that, frankly, he got a bit lucky. Like, he could have easily won a couple other races this year. Things just have not bounced his way. Same story this time around, but William Byron, again, a factor. Let's look at the top finishers. RFK Racing. Jack Roush has always brought good cars to Michigan International Speedway. That was the case once again today. Chris Buescher won the opening stage. That's a huge stage point for Chris Buescher, who entered this race with only 2 laps led on the entire season. Earned a lot of stage points, gets a second place finish. Big, big day for Buescher. His teammates Ryan Preece and Brad Keselowski score top 10s as well. A huge statement from RFK Racing. Even though they haven't seemingly had quite as much speed this year as we've seen in recent seasons, they showed up at one of their best tracks and did what they usually do, contend. Good stuff from RFK Racing. Finishing third today, though, is Ty Gibbs. Talk about a guy who needed something good to happen. Awful start to the year. Had a few weeks where we were like, hey, Ty Gibbs, turning the corner, figuring it out. It's been rough the past few weeks. third place run for Ty Gibbs. Second straight year, I believe, Ty Gibbs has finished third here at Michigan International Speedway, turning into a good track for Ty. Good day for Toyota across the board with Hamlin, Ty Gibbs in the top 5. Bubba Wallace, top 5 finish, snuck up there. That's 2 weeks in a row with top 5 finishes for Bubba, another driver who's flirting with that playoff cut line, who needs good finishes, gets it today. Kyle Larson, I alluded to it earlier, but this is the second straight week where Kyle Larson gets a good finish when I don't think he had a really good car. Last week, a poor qualifying effort, a pit road penalty set them back. He didn't have those setbacks today. Actually, Cliff Daniels, I think, played a good strategy late. They got that car full of fuel. Larson did his job on restarts, and they were in that picture late trying to save gas. They were in the same boat, I think, as their teammate William Byron. Byron ran out of gas. Larson backed off enough to at least get a good finish out of it, eat into Byron's regular season points lead at least a little bit. So, 2 weeks in a row, not a great car, but still a pretty great finish for Kyle Larson. Got to mention some of these other guys. Ross Chastain with a strong 6th, again, carrying the torch for Team Trackhouse. Although I'll give SVG some credit. Third week in a row, third oval in a row where Shane Van Gisbergen was racing in the top 20, top 15, making moves, battling. That's progress for the road course ringer. Zane Smith, 7th. It was a tough day for his teammates with Gregson spinning out early to try and avoid a crash, and then of course Todd Gilliland blowing a tire and crashing, but top 10 for Zane, again showing some progress for front row. Kyle Busch, 8th. Qualified 2nd, but it was clear early on they trimmed that car out for qualifying. As soon as he lost that clean air, he was hanging on to a top 10 spot. Earned some stage points today, gets a top 10 finish. Solid effort for Kyle Busch. Another good finish for Eric Jones, Legacy Motor Club trending the right direction. His teammate John Hunter Nemechek got loose early, spun out, then later hit the wall. Rough day for John Hunter, but Josh Berry had good speed today, raced his way up into the top 5, top 6 in stage 1, lost all his track position and struggled to earn it back throughout the day. Solid result for Berry. Finishing 13th is Tyler Reddick, who once again might have had a top 5, at least a top 10 car, but an issue on their final pit stop. Reddick slid through the box a little too deep. They got boxed in, I think, by Keselowski. Difficult to get out, cost him like 10 spots during that cycle. He got a lot of them back, but obviously didn't get all of them back. Top 15 for Reddick. Daniel Suarez there in 14th. We head to Mexico City in 7 days. A big weekend for NASCAR's only Mexican-born Cup Series driver. And Chase Elliott, right where he belongs. Top 15. Not a terrible day, but not a good day either. They got screwed by an interesting, aggressive pit call in stage 2. Stage 2 was wild today, folks. Stage 1, pretty basic, pretty straightforward. Stage 2, kind of like Nashville last week. A lot of cautions, a lot of incidents. Chase Elliott stayed out, was hoping to catch a caution within a certain window, never did, had to pit, lost his track position, never got it back. At least he led some laps today, so maybe some progress for Elliott. But like Elliott and Christopher Bell were on that same strategy, and Elliott's 15th. I think Bell was 16th. Would you look at that? So consistent, but clearly that strategy did not work. Bit Chase Elliott, unfortunately. 15th place for him. A few other notables worth mentioning. Chase Briscoe won the pole for the 3rd straight race. Charlotte, Nashville, Michigan. James Small is bringing the Saturday speed, but that speed is not translating to the race in the slightest. Just like last week at Nashville, yeah, Briscoe leads some of the opening laps, clean air is king, but the moment he lost that track position, he looked pedestrian. Things got even worse when they had a slow pit stop in stage 2, set them even further back, where they were then swept up in one of the big crashes, got a little damage, limped home to finish 23rd. This team is supposed to contend for wins. Granted, Martin Truex Jr. went winless 2 of the last 3 years, so the 19 winning is not a sure thing. A future Hall of Famer wasn't winning regularly in this car. They've shown good speed. We'll look at the points in a moment. He's safely, for now, in the playoffs on points, but the hope is you win a race. Briscoe was able to win the Southern 500 last year with a dying Stewart-Haas team, yet he can't hold his track position in a Gibbs car after winning the pole 3 weeks in a row. I think Briscoe, James Small might just have to rethink their approach to the weekend. That great starting spot is awesome, but if you can't hold the track position after 200, 300, 400 miles, you get a few stage points, great. What good is it? Frustrating for sure, though, to see Briscoe's race essentially start way up here and then just kind of progressively get worse as the day goes on. That's often the trend. Not always. I think, was it Charlotte? He rallied late to still finish like top 5. Not always. Again, they have stacked up a decent number of points. They're just not contending for wins like we all hoped they would. 2 more names I'm going to mention real quick. Ryan Blaney, last week's winner, finally broke through. Got loose, hit the wall, wrecked in today's race, finished 32nd. Did he DNF today? I think. No, they got the toe link fixed, right? If he did DNF, that would be his 6th DNF in 15 races. Even if he didn't DNF, it basically counts as a DNF because he finished 32nd. But okay, I don't think he officially DNF'd today, but we all know he basically did. He did earn 5 stage points before the wreck, so the speed obviously still there. Lastly, let's talk about last place finisher Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman, qualified mid-pack, did a decent job of maintaining his track position in the opening laps, but somewhere in the middle of stage 1, his car just shut off, like they say, like a light switch, and he plummeted outside of the top 30 by the end of the opening stage. Absolutely terrible. He's back there with the squirrels in stage 2, and 4 wide restart, guys get together in front of him, and he gets shot straight headfirst into the outside safer barrier. A brutal impact, one of the hardest impacts I've seen. Alex Bowman said in his interview after he was released from the infield care center that was the hardest hit he has experienced in his NASCAR career. Just a massive frontal impact there, and we know Alex Bowman has missed time 2 of the last 3 years due to injuries. One sustained in a NASCAR crash, another in a sprint car crash, so hopefully Alex Bowman is okay. Again, he was checked and released from the infield care center, gave an interview to Prime Video. Hopefully Alex Bowman is okay, big picture moving forward. I'm sure he's sore, I'm sure he's going to feel it, but hopefully he's okay. That was not fun to watch. But bigger picture for Bowman, and now we will look at the playoff bubble now with 11 regular season races to go. Bowman lost 32 points to the cut line today. He is now plus 13 points. He has 7 finishes of 27th or worse in the last 9 races. Some of those have been fluky, like they had a mechanical issue at Bristol. You could argue this one was somewhat fluky, although it was partially self-inflicted because you shouldn't be back there in 30th place. But sure, there has been some bad luck involved. There always is, but there have also been numerous mistakes I've talked about. When he bent a toe link at Darlington, pit crew cost him at Texas, put him back there with the squirrels. Charlotte, he spun out. Last weekend, he spun out. Driver, team, maybe the crew chief with their opening setup. A lot of mistakes out of the 48. I hope Alex is okay because they need him at 100% if they are going to rebound from this awful 2+ month stretch. But there is a good look at the playoff bubble. Kyle Busch and Ryan Preece tied right now for the final playoff spot. Long way to go. A lot of road courses coming up. So Preece, Busch, that's the cut line right now. But realistically, I think the cut line is closer to Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, because I would not be surprised if Shane Van Gisbergen or AJ Allmendinger or Michael McDowell, you name it, wins a road course race. We've got 2 super speedway style races still left on the regular season schedule. Atlanta, we've got Daytona, obviously in August. So because of winning you're in, that cut line is all but guaranteed to move at least 1 or 2 positions up. So, Preece, Bowman, holding on to a spot for now, but the key word is for now. I don't think that's going to last at this rate. They need to move forward in the standings if they want to hold on to their prospective playoff positions. Real quick, before we get to the Groovy Gauge, some thoughts on the Amazon Prime broadcast. We're now more than halfway through their inaugural Cup Series race season. I was at last week's race at Nashville, so I saw a lot of the broadcast and I watched some of it on replay, but I didn't experience it fully firsthand. I did this week, so just a few thoughts. The booth of Adam Alexander, Dale Jr., and Steve Letarte are clicking. They are excellent together. There was a moment when Hocevar was bearing down on the leaders where they did a great job, one after another, filling the audience in on the Carson Hocevar story. If you hadn't been keeping up with my show, or you're not on social media Monday through Friday during the week, they did a great job getting everyone up to speed. Here's who Carson is. Here's why some people don't like him. Here's why he's polarizing. He's a hometown hero. Here's Spire and how they've evolved over the last few years. Bang, bang, bang. They all contributed to the conversation. It was tremendous context to add around one of the most interesting storylines of the race. So Prime Video, really great in the booth. Camera direction, stupendous. The blimp cam from Goodyear, they took full advantage of it on restarts to show the 2, 3, 4 wide racing across the whole pack. mid-pack, excellent. The pre and post-race show, very good, although this is going to be my one pretty significant criticism of Prime Video. I'm glad we get a more fleshed out post-race show. That's what we've been asking and begging for years. But I waited around, I counted 20 plus minutes after the checkered flag, and Prime had never shown or spoken to second place finisher Chris Buescher, top 5 finishers Larson, Bubba Wallace. They hadn't spoken to or shown major storylines like Hocevar, William Byron. They interviewed Denny Hamlin on the front stretch. They missed him getting out of the car in victory lane. We were under a commercial break. And then before they interviewed any of the other drivers, they were, commentating on what happened, showing highlight reels, another commercial break. And then we sat down with Ty Gibbs for 10 minutes who had nothing interesting to say. According to a couple of tweets you guys sent me, apparently this is how they did it last week for Nashville as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what people were saying, is that last week it took 20-30 minutes for a lot of the top 5 guys to get interviewed. Like, it's great that Prime is doing these extended sit-down interviews with notable finishers and notable storylines. Like the moment last week with Bubba Wallace at the desk was awesome. Great, emotional, hard-hitting television. But there's room for those interviews and the instant reaction from like the second and third place finishers. Like when Chris Buescher gets out of the car, there should be a camera and microphone there, and the audience should get to see his instant reaction to what just happened pretty quick. We shouldn't have to wait 30, 40, 50 minutes to finally hear from the second place finisher. I get that Prime wants people to sit down and watch their full post-race show, so they're going to dangle the Byron, the Hocevar, the Buescher interviews out there like a carrot on a stick. In the age of YouTube and streaming, believe me, I know, I see the analytics. It's all about keeping the audience engaged. It's all about audience retention, watch time. So if Prime Video can keep you watching a little bit longer, that's good. Those are the metrics they want to see, but it's manipulative. It's the reason so many Netflix original shows, streaming original shows are slow. They drag. The pacing is abominable. I'm a big fan of the video game series The Last of Us. I can barely sit through the first 2 seasons of the show because HBO Max is stretching the content as thin as they possibly can. Prime Video is doing the same thing with their post-race show. Love the extended conversations, but we need to get instant interviews from second, third place, at least 1 or 2 of the most notable finishers. It's great that you interview the winner, but we shouldn't have to wait an hour to hear from Chris Buescher, who finished second. So that's my one criticism. I think I'm allowed one criticism of Prime Video. They've done everything else really, really well the first 3 weeks. I'm allowed one, I think, fully justified criticism. Let me know if your thoughts on the broadcast down in the comment section below. The Groovy Gauge is powered by electric e-bikes. Head to electricebikes.com to find a ride that suits you. This was a great race. I think one of the best races of the season. Mid-pack especially, the racing was awesome. As usual with Michigan and those long straightaways, the draft, slipstream, slingshots, side-by-side drivers getting slowed down, third place guy making a huge move around the inside. We saw some tremendous racing, not just on restarts, but even well into a run. Guys could get runs, make huge moves, thrilling stuff. Even up front, there was some really good stuff. The drama at the end, are they going to make it on fuel? Oh, Hocevar with a tire issue. What a twist. Didn't see that coming. Really good race, and you saw great drivers like Denny Hamlin put their skill and experience on full display. Great cars. Like, I think Chris Buescher might have had the best car today. If this race comes down to just, hey, go hard, go for it at the end, I think Buescher maybe had the speed to win, but because he had to, measure the fuel, conserve, it became more of an experience race. And Denny Hamlin is quite literally the most experienced driver in the Cup Series field. So I appreciate that car driver strengths showed up at the end. Really, really good race. You're not going to hear many complaints from me there. I'm going to go 85% on the Groovy Gauge. Very, very good race at Michigan International Speedway. Seemed like a great crowd, great time, great energy. I had fun. Watching it at home. What did you think of today's Firekeepers Casino 400? Let me know down in the comment section below. Big news before the race. It's official. Ram is re-entering the Craftsman Truck Series next season. Not many other details given, but we'll talk about the latest news tomorrow, Monday's show. That's going to do it for today's post-race show. However, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more NASCAR content, commentary, coverage. We talk the most recent races. We cover the latest news, rumors, interview drivers, and so much more. I really appreciate your support. Have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great start to your week. Again, we'll be back tomorrow to talk Ram and any other major news. I'll see you then. Have a great rest of your evening, folks.